Hello, and it's Friday, so that means I'm here with some little hints and tips for how to make life a bit smoother, a bit easier. And actually today is inspired by a video that I was sent by someone I consider a good friend now, but also my podcast editor, who's Jeff Streck. So Jeff sent me a video yesterday about how so often we're taught that, or told that, if you're in alignment, then everything will always feel like flow and ease, and you'll never have any more difficult days. And if you're having difficult days, it's because you're out of alignment with who you really are. This is obviously a subject that's really close to my heart, because all a part of becoming unapologetically me is peeling back those layers and that conditioning, the ways that we've learned to show up to feel accepted, or whatever it is that we've done through our lives, but actually peeling it back to be the most unapologetic version of who we are. And so finding that alignment and being on purpose with who you are is such a key part of that. But I totally agreed with this video that Jeff shared with me yesterday, that doesn't mean that you never have another hard day and you never find anything challenging ever again. That would be really disingenuous for me to stand up or sit here and share that with you, because that's not what I believe at all. Absolutely, there are still days that feel tricky, even when you're in perfect alignment with who you are, that most unapologetic version of yourself. It can still feel challenging, it can still feel difficult, it can still feel like, oh my goodness, this was a tough day. And believe me, I've had one of those weeks which has had a few tough days within it. It's had tough moments within tough days. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm out of alignment with who I am, or that there's anything wrong going on. It's just a matter of the day. And so that really got me thinking, is what helps us to come back to feeling that flow and that ease more quickly, even when we're experiencing those tricky moments and those tricky days. And for me, it really boils down to two things. The first, and this is a theme that is coming up a lot for me at the moment, it's all around the human connection. So who are those people in your corner? When we work in an online space, it can be really easy to talk to people and be connected to people, but not to actually see people. So I was out on Saturday last week, and actually seeing people in real life. And it's something that I often do, is to go into work in the cafes or into shared workspaces, so that I am immersed in human connection. But for me, it's also about being really intentional about the people that I do connect with. So who's in my corner, and who am I in their corner for as well? So ensuring that real life human connection stays alive, stays real, stays connected, and making sure that I'm really intentional about that. Yes, it's in my diary to make sure that it happens every single day, every single week, to connect with the people who help me to be that version of myself that is in flow and ease as much of the time as possible. So that is a really important thing. The other side of that, and honestly one that I'm still working on, because the social conditioning about working harder, do more, it's strong, it's real. I had 40 plus years of being told to do more, be more, and so learning that just being and stopping are just as important as keeping going and doing. I've always been a very action focused person. I think it's the project manager in me, but it's so important as well to remember to stop. So something that I'm just trying now, just starting on, and I'll keep you posted with how it goes, is saving 5 minutes in every half an hour just to come back to myself. So what that means is just something very simple, a little bit of movement. So maybe it's 10 bodyweight squats, just standing up from my chair, getting the blood flowing around my body again. So maybe it is some bodyweight squats. Maybe it's some breathing to help regulate the levels of cortisol in my body. I'm one of those people who lived on cortisol for way too long. I didn't sleep very well as a result of it because cortisol was keeping me going, and it got me through every day. So I'm like, oh, what's the problem? But actually, it's very well documented, the negative health impacts of basically surviving on cortisol. You'll end up in a situation with adrenal fatigue. So how do we help to dissipate the cortisol in our system to come back to a more natural energy that is powering you through the day? So that within those 5 minutes of each half hour could just be 3 or 4 very intentional breaths that help that cortisol the cortisol levels to regulate, help my nervous system to come back to itself. As the weather improves in the northern hemisphere, another thing I love to do is get outside and get my bare feet on the grass and to feel that sort of foot to earth connection. It's such an important way to come back into my body and to give that cortisol just a moment to dissipate. So yes, we're going to have tricky days. Yes, we're going to have meetings that don't go the way that we hope they're going to go, or anything like that. Life will never just be this perfect smooth sailing just because you've found your purpose and you're in alignment with who you are. That's not the case. But what we can do is find the people that help us to stay connected to that truest version of ourselves, and to find ways to regulate inside of each and every day to stay connected to that true version of ourselves and not let our fears or our past traumas start to layer over the social conditioning or any other conditioning that we may have put on ourselves that take us away from that truest version of who we are. So that's my little helpful tip, hopefully, for today for you, to really stay connected to who you are, but recognize and give yourself permission to have tricky times within that, and just learn to more quickly come back to that truest version of yourself, so that you're constantly on this journey of becoming the most unapologetic version of who you are. So have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful weekend, and I'd love to know your thoughts, whether any of this resonates with you. Do you try any of my little hints and tips as I share them each Friday? And keep being wonderful. I'll speak to you soon.